How you guys doing today? Good evening, everybody. How's it going? It's a little louder. We got universities in the house, a little louder. Come on, how's it going, guys? So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Carl Laguerre. I'm an executive director of sales at Paramount Pictures. And welcome to Film Row Lead's first in-person event. So as you can see, we've done many events before, but they've all started, because we started in 2020 during COVID. So it's amazing to have everyone here finally in person, and it's just great to see everyone's face. One more time, one more round of applause for that, because it's 3 years in the making. And for those of you who aren't familiar with Film Row Lead and Film Row is an organization focused on professional development and philanthropy. Our objective is to foster the future leaders of our industry through educational programs, networking events, and career development workshops. Film Row also fundraises for causes that benefit the entertainment industry and beyond. Film Row Lead itself is a subdivision of Film Row, which focuses on leadership, education, advancement, and diversity. Both Film Row Lead and Film Row are affiliates of the Will Rogers Motion Picture Pioneers Foundation. Those of you who aren't familiar with Will Rogers provides financial assistance and supportive counseling to those who work in movie theaters, as well as other members of our industry who are experiencing hardships. These hardships may be due to illness, accident, or unemployment. Here are two brief videos that will tell you more about Will Rogers.
Just a big shout out to the Will Rogers Foundation. You helped me and my family when we really needed it. It's much appreciated, and can't wait to raise some more money for you.
Hey, my name's Thor Dollar. I'm with Regal Entertainment Group, and just on behalf of all of Regal, I just wanted to say thank you so much to Will Rogers. You guys have been such a tremendous help.
Hi, I'm Holly. I'm from Idaho, and I'm a theater manager. During the first of the pandemic, my son-in-law actually lost his job, and overnight we had 5 extra people in our household. All they did was just help us with grocery money, and it was incredible. The fact that it helped us bridge that gap for a couple of weeks was just more than I could ever have asked for, and it was so helpful.
Hey to all the folks at Will Rogers who work and help and donate. On behalf of thousands of cinema exhibitor employees, thank you.
Thank you so much, Will Rogers, for helping so many of our staff during the pandemic. We truly appreciate it.
Thank you. And to kick off our first ever live speaker series, we are hosting an Instagram contest where the winner will receive a $500 gift card. You can post a reel or a photo from tonight's event, share it on your Instagram, tag us at Film Row for a chance to win. And that's film_row, as you can see up there. And what you would do is you describe why this event and other events like these are important and impactful, and what you've learned and what it means to you. You get creative to be noticed, and you'll win the prize. And finally, I wanted to go over a few housekeeping things for tonight. First things first, this event will be recorded and shared on our channels. Later in the night, we'll be having a Q&A section at the end of the panel, so please save your questions for then. And of course, let's keep the questions appropriate. We will have tonight's space until 8 p.m., so there will be time at the end for guests to mingle and introduce themselves. Once again, I'd like to say thank you all for joining us tonight, and let me introduce you to your host, Sony Distribution Manager and Film Rowe's very own. Give a round of applause for Rich Ioannou.
Hello, thank you, Carl. Carl was one of my first industry friends when I started out, and all of the success he has achieved so far is beyond deserved, so congrats, bro. Very happy for you. What's up, everyone? Welcome to AMC Century City, a place where heartbreak feels good. And thank you also for being here tonight and not next door at Super Mario Brothers. There's plenty of showtimes, don't worry. And no offense, Universal, but we had this date first, so we kept it. We have guests from universities like Cal State Northridge and USC here tonight. We have guests from studios like Paramount, Warner Brothers, congrats on 100 years, and Sony, where are you at? There you are. And we have some people from organizations like the Posse Foundation and the Will Rogers. Let's give them a hand. I'm Richard Ioannou. I'm a theatrical distribution manager at Sony Pictures Entertainment, where I'm responsible for studio release strategy and department management. I am originally from Morris County, New Jersey. I received my bachelor's in PR management from Hofstra University in Long Island, and my master's in corporate comm from NYU. So shout out to all the East Coast transplants that are out here tonight. My first film at Sony was Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle in 2017. And 5 years and 75 films later, that list includes The Woman King, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Bad Boys for Life, Little Woman, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and No Way Home. I am also the vice president of Out at Sony Pictures, our queer employee resource group, and this is my second year serving on the advisory committee at Film Rowe. I participate in Film Rowe specifically for the people because they genuinely care about creating inclusive programming, contributing to charities, and making the industry a better place. So let's give another round of applause to everyone who is a part of Film Rowe. We are here tonight to discuss an extremely relevant topic, the changing landscapes in the workplace and on screen in the entertainment industry. It's a lot to cover because the COVID pandemic changed everything. Theatrical exhibition and the way our companies operate were directly affected. But here we are today. The theater's still open, blockbuster success at the box office, and powerful stories are being told. Our panelists here today have experienced these changes firsthand and are going to share with us their stories. Unfortunately, Nicole is feeling under the weather, so she cannot join us tonight, and we do wish her a speedy recovery. So, shall we begin? Yes. All right. Gonna take a seat. Okay, our first panelist is Gigi Lestak. Gigi is the Vice President of Domestic Sales at Warner Brothers and has been in theatrical distribution for 37 years and counting. She has been promoted from LA branch manager to regional manager to now Vice President and oversees sales efforts in the Eastern Division, the Central Division, and Canada. Gigi's passion for the movie business began early. Her father was a film salesman, her grandfather worked in accounting at Warner Brothers, and in high school, she worked at the Movieland Theater in Yonkers, New York, now the Alamo Drafthouse. She graduated from Cal State Northridge with a BA in English. Everyone, please welcome Gigi.
Ooh, a microphone.
Our next panelist is Jocelyn Cruz. Jocelyn is the Director of Multicultural Film Marketing at Paramount Pictures. She has been with the company for 10 years since she was a Paramount page. She is originally from Cleveland, Ohio, and as a Latina, representation and perception of people of color is very important to her. She is determined to help the next generation see themselves on screen and to continue amplifying their voices in the film industry. Everyone, please welcome Jocelyn. And last, but certainly not least, we have LaMont Shedrick. LaMont is the Chief Distribution Officer at Fall Line Entertainment, where he oversees acquisition of sales. He is a 20-year-plus industry veteran who joined as a sales trainee and rose through the ranks, selling larger-scale movies domestically to exhibitors for 20th Century Fox. LaMont was also the VP of Sales at Annapurna, and throughout his career has distributed 270-plus films. LaMont, please welcome to the stage. So while you all work in the same sector of this industry and share somewhat similar responsibilities, you all have had very different journeys to get here. So my first question, and I would like Gigi to answer first, Jocelyn and LaMont. Why did you join the entertainment industry, and did you have prior experience before?
I joined the entertainment industry, as you read by my bio. I have my family's in it. I have extended family that's in it. But it also the same passion everyone has for the movies. But bottom line, when I graduated from college, I was going to teach. And I saw what the teaching salary was and what an entry-level film salesman was. And I went with a film salesman. The short answer.
I joined the entertainment industry actually prior to Paramount. My first internship was in New York City at BET, Black Entertainment Television, on a show called 106 in Park. Yeah, you guys are definitely millennials because you know what that is, but the Gen Zers in here definitely don't. It was like a music video countdown show, and yeah, it was great. So I joined when I did that internship, and that was a really great experience because I got to work with predominantly Black people and see their culture, and I grew up with a lot of Black people, and I'm Latina, so I felt definitely comfortable there, but I didn't ever really see myself on TV or in any shows, so that's the reason why I joined the entertainment industry.
Oh, wow. For me, I got tired of waiting on people. I was a server at a restaurant when I finished school, graduated from Cal State Northridge. But honestly, I was a former football player. I played football, and any former athletes, it's very difficult trying to find what you want to do next. I'm a communications major, grad, and I was pursuing a radio sales career. And it was good, but then it's always good to meet people along your journey. They told me about an internship at 20th Century Fox. And I was like, hey, Fox is a big company. Let's give it a shot. I have a sales background. Make a long story short, it was actually a minority program. They were trying to get more minorities in the industry. It was for a year. They paid you $23,000, gave you full benefits. I was like, sign me up. I took a pay cut, though. But I felt confident in realizing that once I get into a company like Fox, I will figure out, because we think we know what we want to do, but we really don't. But I'm so glad I did, because I love this industry, and it's been so great for me up to this point.
Yeah, that is very awesome. Thank you all for sharing. Jocelyn, can you tell us a little bit about being a page, though, and how that was your start in the industry?
Yeah, that was my start in the entertainment industry, West Coast film side of things. Being a page was difficult because you are giving tours to different people every day. You're giving them to like 2 groups of 10, so you're dealing with, out-of-towners. And I'm a transplant. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio, so it's like, Hollywood movie magic here and there. But yeah, I mean, it definitely had its ups and downs. I am thankful that I did take the time to meet with other people and really follow up on those relationships, because that's how I was able to move on from being a page to an assistant and so on.
I remember when I was trying to even get an internship or become a page, they told us the acceptance rate was harder to get in than Harvard. Mm-hmm. And is that true?
It is really hard. And at that time, this is before like the Me Too movement, and this is before, diversity was really at the forefront of everything where we're at now. And I was one of 2 Latinas in a class of 25 people. So, and I know that they interviewed over 100 people for that round, and I did get it, thank God. But yeah, it is really, really hard to get into. And they do say to be a page or join an agency to get into the entertainment industry, and I'm just grateful that I was able to get in by being a page.
Definitely. And Gigi, you joined New World Pictures in 1986 as a Western Division sales trainee. And then you joined New World, and in 1989 joined Triumph Releasing, and have been with WB since '94. How have you been so lucky to have so many jobs in this industry?
Actually, it's only been 3 companies that I've worked for, but I've worked for many of the executives in the film business because they moved around a little bit. But I just feel fortunate when you land at a company and you do what you love and you ask, you just keep asking for more. At New World, it was a company that was downsizing, so it was very easy to take on more. They were laying people off, so basically, it was just being one of the last people standing. And at Sony, the same thing. With each new job you start, you take the skills from the last one and build on it, and hopefully you use that to get your next job. So.
And now you're a VP.
That's right, and it's the best company in the world.
Can you tell us a little bit about your day-to-day as a vice president?
Actually, it's interesting because I work in several divisions. There are nuances that come with each of the divisions that you deal with. There's different personalities and different, but I have a great team. Including Allie, who's here. The job itself has changed over the years. When I first started, the sales job was simply negotiating, getting into theaters and negotiating the film terms and doing holdovers. Now a film sales job is much more comprehensive because of the consolidation in the business and technological advancements that make some of the former sales tasks obsolete. So salespeople today do more marketing, they do more film collections, they do more data entry. Before, even as recently as 12 or 15 years ago, a film salesman basically just sold film. Now they're much more of a utility player, and they have other tasks.
Yeah, you said collections, and everyone here got triggered. So.
I don't actually collect it. I just make a goose call once in a while to help them collect it.
And Jocelyn, you are the director of Multicultural Marketing, which seems like a new job that has, within the last decade, become something. Can you explain to us what you do?
Yes, so multicultural marketing, it is definitely new. I've been on this team for 6 years. I'm going to point out my coworker and my partner in crime, Naz, who's recording me right now. But he's everything. We have a really small team. It's my boss, me, and Naz. And we basically market to everyone who's not white in the United States, and that even includes LGBTQ plus communities. So we are talking to anyone of color through advertisement. But I think something that's really important about what we do is we authentically try to talk to people, whether you're Asian American, Latino, Black. We try to find the cultural pillars, so it's not only about gender and how much you make at your class, like all of those type of things. It's more than that. It's what drives someone to buy a ticket and what's really going to capture them to feel like they are seen in a movie.
And LaMont, tell us about your position.
Well, Fall Line it's a great company that I'm enjoying right now because it takes me back to my independent days. My first role at Fox was with Fox Searchlight. So Fox Searchlight was created to find independent filmmakers, new and actors or producers, things that were the next group of people to help lead our industry. And it was fun. But at the time, wasn't paying a lot, so I went to the big side Fox and got a promotion. But at Fall Line, it takes me back there because right now I'm doing a little bit of everything. We literally help aspiring creators work with them from script to screen. What I mean by that, a lot of people are trying to get a distribution deal. They're looking for the major studios. What we do is work with filmmakers to help them not only get it to the screen, but also to help them with fundraising. Because when you do have a distributor on board, it really helps people feel really good about investing their money. So knowing that they have someone like Fall Line and people with experience that can help get them there, that's helpful. And independent filmmakers, they want to navigate, they want to get there. And the theatrical may not be the platform at first, but there's other downstreams. So it's fun, it's taking me back to my roots, doing a little bit of everything, and I look forward to working with the newcomer filmmakers, like this one we got, Maurice Moore. Look, he got 4 pictures, and we're excited. Motivate Films, and we think he's a great filmmaker that will have a voice one day. So.
That's incredible.
That's great.
Can you tell me right now, what are some career moments, some personal highlights for you that you're very proud of?
Wow, it's so, when I turn 50, they say you start forgetting things, but it was so many at Fox. But I tell you, right when I first came in, the Full Monty, I don't know if any of you guys know about that movie. It was a Fox Searchlight movie. It cost a little over $3 million to make. Picture grossed over $258 million. But when I seen this movie, I tell you, I was like, what is this? These men are stripping? It's a British film? But it was well done, but I seen the power of distribution and marketing. How if you really strategize and have the right release date and really massage a picture, it could catch on. And when something catches on, the industry is so exciting. And so for me, that was great to be a part of. Actually, my first year is in '97, August of '97 when that movie came out. I started in the business in February of '97. So that was an amazing run, and I was hooked from then on.
Go. Well, actually, being at Warner's for 3 decades plus, I mean, there's so many pinch me moments for some of the films we have, from the DC universe to the Conjuring universe, to the Harry Potter films, to the It films, to the Hangovers. And then, as LaMont mentioned, there's those films in between, the special gems that just hit a cultural zeitgeist. Whether it's the trailer that hits first and it goes viral, or it's just a cultural moment. I think of just our Star is Born recently. It just seemed to embrace like a 4-quadrant audience. And certain films like that, certainly working with Chris Nolan and Clint Eastwood and some of the iconic filmmakers, every day I go to work, I pinch myself and go, I cannot believe they're paying me to do this. I still feel that way.
For me, I've been at Paramount for 10 years, so I've definitely seen the downside of Paramount, but we're on the upside right now. I think Top Gun Maverick was an amazing movie just in general, and to been able to have worked on that and stayed with it for the years that we waited for it to come out because of the pandemic. That was really exciting. And, that wasn't easy for the multicultural department to market. Like Top Gun, if you look at the original, it's predominantly white cast, and the pillars just aren't there trying to grab a younger generation, but it worked and we did it. But I feel like the biggest highlight for me in my career so far was this last Scream film that came out in March, because the box office was 62% the first weekend people of color, and 38% of that 62% was Latino. So that meant everything to me, because you do hear often that when there are Latinas or Latinos in a role, in a lead role, that Latinos don't show up to the film and they don't support, but that's not true at all. And I think the numbers just go to show, like, we really do show up, and we show up big when we come to the film.
Absolutely. And I mentioned before the pandemic, change was starting to happen in Hollywood. What are some of the biggest or most visible moments of change you have seen in the workplace? LaMont, would you like to start?
Well, since my home office is based in Columbus, Georgia, I've kind of represented out here in Los Angeles, but what I've noticed is there's more people like me, meaning that they're working from home still. They're working in their office. They're moving. And the biggest change is we're learning how to connect independently, which is unique, but which I think is very normal now. And now we're utilizing Zooms and different things of that technology. But at the core of it, I find people are kind of cross-working together now, because you can't just rely on going down the hall to talk to someone anymore. Now you got to pick up that phone, or you have to send an email. You have to reach out. So to me, the change is connecting us more together, because sometimes you get in your little office, your little building, and you're not really connected. But now you're forced to be, else you'll be isolated by yourself.
I think also, to further to what you say, I think the way in March 2020, the way we had the convergence of George Floyd's murder, Harvey Weinstein being sentenced, and from the outside it looked like we were starting the apocalypse, and I think people were stuck at home and really, instead of listening to sound bites of some of this, they were digesting it and thinking about it, and I think it's made people more self-aware and more socially aware since the pandemic, and I think that it's helping move the needle a little bit to at least have very honest conversations, where before they were just sound bites for the most part. And I think that people were captive audiences at home, and I think maybe there's some enlightenment, even if they resisted it.
I agree with all of that. You guys put everything that I was thinking all together in one, but I do see the leadership that we have in our marketing building, listening to people of color more, and I think that stems from everything that we went through in 2020. And yes, you have to connect with your coworkers more than ever before. You can't ignore those phone calls or emails, or avoid them in the hallway. It has to work. So everything you guys both said, I agree with 100%.
It's amazing that the change is happening. Prior to that, though, there are misconceptions and stereotypes of our industry. For me, specifically, I was always worried about my straight masculine bosses judging me because of my sexuality. And to my surprise, they literally do not care, except for if they want to know if gay people like Celine Dion, things like that. Do you feel that when your employees are allowed to be their authentic self, they're able to give 200%?
Absolutely. When you're accepted, when I came into the game, even though there's minorities, there wasn't a lot of African Americans on the distribution side. So it was very difficult to find a mentor initially. But then once it was kind of, I felt anxiety sometimes going into meetings, because you're wondering, do you fit in? And that was a LaMont issue, not a coworker issue. But once I got past that and was able to be my authentic self, they appreciated that. And, wondering, because when you go to school, you got to say things a certain way. You want people to feel you're smart, Even though I do wear glasses, I start wearing my glasses more. How silly is that, But the more and more you get comfortable with yourself, people really hear you more. So I find it's very important to always start from being your authentic self.
You want to go?
Oh, that's
Okay. I agree with that 100%. I've always been the type, though, like you're going to hear my voice no matter what color I am. So I feel like I always kind of came in hot like a tornado or whatever you want to say. But there was one moment, and I want to credit Nas, because when we were sitting at home in March 2020 and we were discussing a film that we had only read the script at the time and we hadn't actually seen it come to life on picture yet, but we were in a meeting and there was like 150 people, and they asked what people thought of the film, especially in the environment that was going on outside of our homes at the time and on the news. And I spoke up, and I was in full on tears and crying, and I was really emotional, and I was like, this is not a film that I want to work on. I'm not proud of this. This is a film that I can't stand with and I don't stand for, and Nas helped me echo that message, and we were able to get that film off the slate and sold to someone else. And I feel like, you know, maybe it wasn't us all the way, but just speaking up and really voicing that as a person of color, I do think that helped move the needle in the way that we felt like it should go. So
I don't think I mean, I don't even want to put myself in that same boat. Your experiences are much more egregious and any affronts you've had than me. So I wouldn't say that. I just know the misconceptions that were there from previous years that were stereotyped in, that I'm hoping that with more and more people in executive ranks like you, Jocelyn, that we're changing that narrative, because it's unconscionable that was happening.
Yeah, that's incredible, Jocelyn.
thank you.
And when the pandemic happened, it did not help that the media was so excited to just talk about all of the negative impacts that theatrical distribution was affected by. Can we talk about the positives that came from the theatrical shutdown and the COVID pandemic?
Sure. Oh, absolutely. From a business standpoint, it absolutely, obviously, there's a pent-up thirst for the communal experience again, and it gives the theaters an opportunity to lean into that. So theaters, even pre-pandemic, were really feeling the squeeze from home entertainment, from the comfort of staying home and watching great streaming product. So even pre-pandemic, but certainly post-pandemic, it's been accelerated. The theaters are raising their game. They know they have to become more experiential. They have to differentiate the viewing experience from, you know, your couch. So they're leaning into recliners and premium formats and making their theaters more like have a hook, whether it's a jazz club or bowling or some kind of destination. And they're also being more innovative. Again, the business is down 30+% over the, you know, the previous 3-year average, you know, post-pandemic. So the theaters are struggling. So they're coming up, the business model for theaters kind of remained unchanged for decades and decades. So the notion that they're coming up with these innovative ideas like surge pricing, which you see in concerts and you know, if what they're doing is for movies that they expect to overperform or do a certain level of money, they're charging $1 more a ticket, so it increases revenue. They're doing sightline pricing, which you may have heard about, when it's just like buying tickets for concerts or, you know, sporting events where the ones in the back, the nosebleed seats are cheaper. And they're doing other innovations. AMC is now selling popcorn in Walmart. So they're trying what they can. And on the studio side, the studios realize they have to make compelling content that competes with the, you know, the great streaming content. So I think everybody's raising the game. That's from a business standpoint. From a personal or socioeconomic standpoint, I think the post-COVID, 2 things have come out of that are great. One, the flexible work hours. I think the life balance works. And then there's something great about having to be able to do a couple of your errands Friday afternoon. But there also that notion of just being back with a communal experience and enjoying a movie theater with people. So.
She said it all for me, so I have no comments.
I just want to add, with change always comes opportunity. So especially for aspiring filmmakers, for the people I'm working with, they're excited. They're a little afraid because they know they have to deliver, but the opportunities to become a part of this change is exciting for me and also for aspiring filmmakers. So I think that's good. Sometimes when the system has been the way it was for so many years, change is very hard to come by. But when life takes its place, you're forced to change, and it's constantly changing now. So I think it's exciting times, and for those of you who are trying to get into this industry, you're going to be a part of this change. You guys don't want to hear my old stories on. They're not relevant now. I've become the other guy who I used to listen to, say his name, Gary Erickson. He has some old stories I love that. I say, God, you've been in this industry so long. So now, me approaching 26 years, I got those old stories now, too.
Jocelyn, has anything surprised you?
That's a good question. I am surprised on how when I was 10 years old and now I'm 33, I know I look only 25, thank you, to see myself on TV. Like when I first started, even 10, 12, 13 years ago, when I left college, I didn't see myself besides seeing Jennifer Lopez and Selena. Like that's the only time, but just as a child, you can turn on Hulu and you can turn on Netflix and you can watch films in the theaters and you can see yourself on film. And I feel like even pre-pandemic, we didn't see that as much. And it's great to have LGBTQ representation on film and everything. It's great to see everyone on screen now.
Last week, the UCLA Entertainment and Media Research Initiative released their Hollywood Diversity Report and found that in 2022, theatrical films with casts that were 31% to 40% minority enjoyed the highest median global box office receipts, while films with casts that were less than 11% minority were the poorest performers. LaMont, when acquiring films or picking the next project, what does representation mean, and how has it changed your decision making?
Oh, wow, great question. Representation isn't just what you see on the big screen. To me, behind the scenes is just as valuable, because what's on the screen, even though in the past, sometimes they'll show diversity on the screen, but then the people behind it is not really authentic in their stories. So I think it's very important to have producers, directors, or the body of the production team to be diverse as well. And then you're gonna have better product on screen that's gonna speak to those voices.
Great. That's beautifully put. Drop the mic.
We have learned from films like Black Panther, Crazy Rich Asians, and Spider-Verse that representation does matter in film and at the box office. Gigi, is it harder to sell a film in the political landscape that we are in now?
You know, it's interesting because there's films that we like to think are born from the Me Too movement, the Women Talking, She Said, Tar, and I guess Bombshell in 19 kind of set the stage for that. But there is a challenge in that because they're still a little bit polarizing. You have films like that, they're not making a ton of money at the box office, but they're good conversation starters. And yet they tend to have the women rally and the men either squirm or shrug. So I think what we're finding is that the content has to be really good, and it can't feel like a history lesson. We had a great film in the summer of 18 called Crazy Rich Asians. We released in August of 18, and I tell you, some of the smaller towns in the Deep South and in the Midwest, we would actually get phone calls from the owners of the buyers and say, we can't play it there. It looks good, but no one will come see it. And we're like, what are they, don't have families in your town? They don't have comedy? But they were resistant, and it was because of the stereotypes. They said, we don't want a film that has an all-Asian cast, no one will see it. Most of those theaters booked it on the second or third weekend, once they saw the word of mouth built on it. So I think with each film that you can open that kind of chisels away at that stereotype, I think it helps set the table for the next one. And I think films like Brokeback Mountain that had kind of a story in there that was organic, and although it created a little bit of controversy, it was a well-made film that people came to see because it was a well-made film. So I think that's the bottom line, is what I'm hearing. If you make great content and it's compelling, I hope we get to a point where you can have a story about a gay couple that could just as easily be switched out for a heterosexual couple, that it isn't a trope in the film, but just a great love story. So we're getting there.
Jocelyn, you spoke about how you've advocated for change on certain film projects. What do you say to those who think Hollywood has gone too woke?
Hollywood has not gone too woke.
Agreed.
We have so much further to go, so we're definitely not too woke. I think being aware is great to have that awareness, but I think the people who think Hollywood is too woke are the people who were complaining about Crazy Rich Asians in the Midwest and the Deep South. So that's it.
If you haven't guessed, I am Greek. So Greek that my church had a CNO, I call it a congregation night out, and we rented out a theater for my Big Fat Greek Wedding 1 and 2. And I bet they'll do it again for the third. This was way before private watch parties, and to this day, it's still one of my favorite movie-going experiences because it properly and accurately reflected our lives. Aside from the Windex, that is not true. Do not spray me with Windex. But the grandmother running away is true. My grandmother did do that a lot. A movie that unfortunately underperformed and was heavily marketed as diverse and inclusive was Bros. Even with the stellar reviews and support from a major studio, the film was not accepted by the demographic it was made for. What does it mean when Hollywood makes a movie for a specific demographic and it does not connect with that audience? Is there a thing as proper representation?
Who you asking?
Oh, that's a great question. I'm gonna let you guys go first. No. Proper.
Take that.
I just think there's so many communities that are not monolithic. Like going, just to get away from like Bros, because I didn't watch that movie. I saw that it's streaming though, and I actually put it on my list yesterday. That's funny you brought it up.
Don't tell Billy Eichner.
But going to a film that I worked on that could be in a similar context of that was Dora the Explorer, which that was 2018, 19, can't even remember. But that was supposed to be for obviously kids and parents who grew up with Dora, but more specifically to Latino audiences. And a lot of people will probably assume that Dora is Mexican, but she actually isn't. Nickelodeon has never stated what Dora technically her ethnicity is. And working on that film, being from Cleveland, Ohio, believe it or not, there are a lot of Puerto Ricans in Cleveland, and I'm Puerto Rican, and I didn't grow up with Mexican culture until I left and went to college in Toledo, Ohio, where it's predominantly Mexicano if you are Latino. So trying to work on that film, but like really focus in on Mexican, Central American Latinos, it was hard to market that to East Coast Caribbean, Puerto Rican, Dominican Latinos. And a lot of people, when they made that film, before going into it, I think they, thought Latino, like all Latinos are going to support this. And it really was more curated at the end of the day for Central American, Mexican Latinos. So to say it is hard to have a proper representation overall, because yes, every gay man is not going to be the same gay man as the other, and every Latino is not going to be the same as every other Latino, and every black man or female, we're all not monolithic. So to say proper representation, yes, there is, but to an extent. So to wrap it all up, it's really hard to represent everyone, but you just have to try to do the best you can. And I think it goes back to your point, LaMont, having those people behind the scenes, the writers and the directors and the producers who are authentically those people.
Shoot, Jocelyn knocked that out the park. Next question.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm out of breath on that one, so thank you.
All right, speaking of those type of films, in your experience, were there some that you were rooting for that didn't succeed, or some that you didn't think would succeed that actually did break through?
Well, obviously, I wish I could say that there were more films that over-index there. When you take a film like Moonlight, that was a Best Picture film and only did $28 million, or even Call Me By Your Name, another great drama, only did $18 million. Even Bros, which I saw, was a fun movie, and it was, I don't know what the Rotten Tomatoes score was, but it was a good movie, and it did under $12 million. So I don't know. And even if you take, was it Love, Simon, which skewed much younger, great fun film, and that only did like $40 million. So I think it's more. The content's there. I mean, Bros was a good movie, so I don't know what needs to be done except to keep making that genre. I'm glad to see that genre is being created and there's films being made in that genre. There wasn't as recently as 5 or 6 years ago. So it's not moving fast enough, but it definitely feels like we're again opening that conversation. And the more films that are made, the more I think the content will get better and the exposure will be there.
And I want to add, being in distribution, we look at numbers. The movie got to make money at the box office, but to tell certain stories at times, it may not make a lot, but you can mitigate. This is what we talk to our filmmakers about, mitigating your losses by maybe you don't go as wide. Maybe you kind of tone things down. Now, in the industry, when things don't go over 100 million or 200 million, sometimes it's considered a loss in certain movies. And then a movie only grows 8 to 10 million. It's like we're moving away from those things. And I think we still need to stay in that vein because there's still a lot of stories that needs to be told. And you can't just measure it by its total box office success on the national scene.
No, you bring up a phenomenal point. When movies don't perform, it sends the message that people don't want to see these movies. And in that same UCLA report, it was reported that diversity has taken a step back in theatrical films, but strides forward in streaming. In streaming, 33% of lead actors and 43% of the cast were people of color, while in theatrical, only 21% of lead actors and 36% of the cast were. How does that make you feel, Jocelyn?
Right to me, huh?
I saw the teeth grinding. I saw the whole thing.
I believe it. I really do. I think going back to Lamont's point, like casting also needs to have changes. It can't be the same casting directors that know the same circle. We don't need all the Chris's on the forefront line to be the leading men. I think, you guys got that? But love them all. I love them all. They're great. I just think that there needs to be a change there as well, and it's happening. But I think on the theatrical side, we're still kind of going back in the old Hollywood ways of like when they used to contract actors in the early 1900s. We're still like in that same circle, and we got to give people that don't fit that narrative a chance to be the leading lady, the leading male role, etc.
Would you like to add?
Well, I'm just saying, when you're running a studio, that'll help.
Yeah, thank you
When
so
they get
much.
rid of that old legacy people.
What are, at Sony, I know in the employee resource group and our diversity and inclusion team, they have so many programs to advocate new types and diverse storytelling. What are some of the studios that you work for doing?
Oh, well, obviously, I think all the studios, even before the pandemic, they were, because of the global box office, they were making casting choices with more of a global eye than they had before. But I think now, again, going back to more the society being more self-aware and having conversations about race and gender and sexual orientation, I think the studios clearly are trying to respond to that, and they're looking for stories that illuminate that, and they're looking for for casting that represents like the cultural fabric. Hopefully it isn't just lip service. I know my company is very proactive about seeking out stories like that, and I think the industry as a whole is doing that. So I think that's good.
No, I agree. Like faith-based films, you know, there's audience out there. You know, it may not be everyone's cup of tea, and that's okay. You don't have to have movies that speak to 4 quadrants all the time. And if it doesn't speak to 4 quadrants, meaning it still could be a success. I still think whatever group people lean towards, you have to speak to them. You know, they want to hear. If you want the theaters, we want butts in seats. You have to have a diversity on your slate so to bring people back to the theater. So I think we're moving forward, but you know, what people say is not fast enough. But we are moving, you know. From when I came into the business in '97, it seemed like we were starting to do a lot of African American movies. There's a lot of hip hop and really hitting that vein. They were successful. Waiting to Excel, you know, Brown Sugar. Those are fun things to work on. But those stories are still relevant. And people just want to see if it's a love story, action story. You want to see if you're Korean, if you're Chinese, if you're, you know, it doesn't matter. You want to see something for you. And I think there's a way, especially if we don't just measure everything, that it's a failure if it didn't hit 100 million or so. So we're moving forward. So I'm very optimistic, and I love where the industry is. The industry, we rally around every group. There is something on streaming. I think that helps. That helps the theatrical experience in a way more than people know, because when people are at home, it's like, wow, I really enjoyed that movie. It's on the theater. Let me go out and see something of that kind down the road.
No, it is beyond refreshing to hear from you three, to be so optimistic about the future. It only excites me even more. And before we wrap up and open the Q&A, I want to ask what piece of advice you learned at the start of your career that you still use to this day?
Well, I'll go first, let the ladies answer. Treat people the way you want to be treated. That's been my motto. My late father, he passed away 6 years ago. He always said that if you don't want it done to you, don't do it to someone else. So for me, you know, when we're coming into Hollywood, you guys, for those who are looking, be yourself. A lot of times people, they project to be something that they're not. You know, don't do that. Speak your truth. Be who you are, and as you meet people along the way, whether in the industry or not, or, you know, treat them the way you want to be treated, and good fortunes will find you.
Wow, that was really good. And to piggyback off you a little bit, that was something that's really important to me, is being myself and not forgetting where I come from. I think me knowing that I am a Latina Midwestern girl has helped me so much in my marketing to not forget what a real consumer wants. And sometimes when we're stuck in these meetings, in these boardrooms with each other or Zoom, you kind of get wrapped up in like this high taste for quality of films and all of those things where it's like, no, I just want to be a consumer and go watch a movie and have a good time with my family or my friends. So I think not forgetting where you come from and really being yourself is really important. And then another like little professional side thing would be to always write handwritten notes. That's something I learned in high school from my high school TV teacher, and he always said, write a thank you note after a interview, or if someone does something nice for you, write a thank you note. So when I've gotten promoted or someone went out of their way to speak up for me, I've always taken the time to write a handwritten note, just because that's, I mean, a text isn't nice, that's great, but like a handwritten note is just so much more thoughtful and kind of extinct at this point. So I think that's just something small to take with you in your career.
You know, that's funny you say that, Jocelyn, because I was going to say the same thing. Having been in the business, 37 years, it just shows that small thing to do. I have worked for several bosses, and they appreciate them. Colleagues appreciate them, and everyone does. What I would add to that is find a mentor and find a protege. You should, when we talk about diversity and inclusion, I think everyone would agree, nobody wants a leg up, they just want a level playing field. So everyone has the same access. And if you're lucky enough to be in a position to get somewhere, it's almost your responsibility to, one, find somebody to help you along, give you guidance, but also take someone along with you and encourage that person to take someone along with them. And I think that's how you build a community, and that's how you build a kind of a network of people. This business is funny because the people on the outside think it's such a huge business, and it really isn't. It's a cottage business. There's not that many companies, and the same people you work with, you're going to run into again years later. So that goes back to LaMont saying, be nice to them, because you may work for them. You probably will at some point. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Let's give another round of applause to our panelists. We are going to start the Q&A portion of this. So if anyone has any questions, there is a microphone over there by Jeff Wilk. It's the handsome tall guy standing up with a spotlight.
The humble one.
Yes, I frequently get things started. No, Gigi, I'm actually going to take your question and throw it back at the three of you. I assume each of you had a mentor throughout your career, and if you did, would you each please talk about what you learned from them and how it helped you develop your career?
Well, I'll tell you, absolutely. I've been lucky enough to have a few of them, male and female. But basically, it's the sounding board. It's your sister. It's like you're having your brother, or your older brother, or your sister. Just someone to bounce something off of that isn't your boss, that's going to be objective and has your best interests at heart. But often, as you've read my bio, I tell you that I've had people that are much younger than me actually teach me as much as the people that I worked on. And I think of Allie, who's sitting right there. She has literally shaken up some of the procedures we've done for years and years, and just with a fresh set of eyes. So it isn't always the people that are veterans and have been in the business longer than you. A lot of the stuff I learned from my younger colleagues. And that's just keep your ears open and your eyes open, and be receptive to new ideas, because it's you guys that are going to change the business. You're going to be wheeling us around in wheelchairs.
Let's not go that far. No, I'm just kidding.
Don't go near the stairs.
Right. Yeah, for me, I've had two female mentors. First one was this younger white Jewish woman, and she I wanted to work for her because she had hoops on when I met her, and I love hoops because I'm Latina. And I met her, and I was like, wow, she is young, and she brings something to the table that I haven't seen brought to an old studio before. So I worked for her, and I was her assistant. She really helped level me up and like not be scared to ask for more money. And I feel like just as a female and then a person of color, that's something in our communities where it's like, well, you have a job, so just be thankful for that. Don't ask for more. And she was like, no, you asked for more money. And I'm like, okay, girl, I will. And my current boss right now, she's Latina, and she's an amazing boss because not only does she care about the work that we do for our department, but she also cares about me and Naz outside of work, which is super important. And it's nice to feel like, well, if something happened to me, I know she would be worried or she would care. So it's just being human is really important, and remembering like, yeah, we all act like robots sometimes at the end of the day, but we're all human and we're just here to do our best job.
That's good. But we hear mentors, and it's very, very important to find mentors. But I find mentors kind of show themselves in certain things that you're going through. There's people I can name, but like I said, there's so many mentors that I've learned things from. And a lot of them don't even know that they were mentors because you're watching them. You're watching how they interact when crisis comes. You're watching how they treat people. One person comes to mind right now. His name is Bruce Snyder. I'm gonna mention Bruce not because I have many, I can name others, but I seen him. I was at an event in CinemaCon in Vegas. The big event comes out every year around this time in April. I had this small independent film guy that owned theaters. He had one theater, 4 screens, and they were coming to watch our screening, and they go, "LaMont, is that Bruce Snyder?" I said, "Yes." She said, "Oh, he's so handsome. I would love to meet him one day." I said, "You want to meet him right now?" She said, "Sure." So I said, "Bruce, would you come? This person's very helpful when I'm needing dates. Would you come say hello?" Bruce said, "Certainly." And Bruce sat there and talked with her for at least 30 minutes. Now, he's the president of the company at Fox. But if the president of the company could take time to talk to someone who in the grand scheme of things didn't really matter, that was something that stuck with me to this day. But many people, there's other people who've done different things for different reasons, but that stood out. So my advice is your mentors will appear as you go through different things in life, and just relish that and learn from them.
Amen.
Yes.
Any other questions? I have another one. What piece of advice that you learned that no one taught you?
Whoa.
Gosh. Don't drink Southern Comfort. That's for you college kids.
You just thought of this question, right? I know you didn't.
Top of mind.
No, that's great, but let's see. I'm gonna repeat it so I could come up with something. What is a great advice that I've learned that no one's taught me? Take a risk. Take risks. You would think that's something that people teach you, but there's so many people are afraid. Take that leap of faith. When I went from the minority program to become a branch manager at Fox, I remember I wanted to meet with Tom Shedrick in the studio. I realized he was running the studio. I realized these certain people could help you out. And I remember going to a guy and said, "Man, I'm gonna send Tom Shedrick a note. I'm going to the studio. I want to meet with him and tell him I want to be in this industry." He looked at me and said, "He's not going to meet with you. He meet with Stallone. He's meeting with all these powerful people. What makes you think he got time?" And I went home and I said, you know what? I felt in my gut, why wouldn't he want to talk to someone in training? I sent the note anyways. Immediately he responded back, "LaMont, I heard a lot of good things about you. Next time you're in the studio, come to my office. I'd love to meet you personally." I got scared after that. So make a long story short, I went to the studio. Not only was Tom Shedrick there, it was Bruce Snyder and Rick Meyerson, the three of them. Now, if you go to these old studio offices, they're huge. I sat down and said, "Have a seat." I'm like, "Whoa, what can I do for you?" And I was just went and I had my resume ready, but I just told him, I said, "I want to sell movies to 20th Century Fox. I love what you guys do." "Well, as you know, we don't have an opportunity right now, but I tell you what, Fox Searchlight needs some help. By the end of the week, you're going to get a call, and you're going to start helping them out." Like, whoa, I thought HR is supposed to do that. But that man had a lot of power, and if I wouldn't have taken a risk, I wouldn't be sitting here today.
That's a great story. I can't even touch that.
Yeah. I don't even know what to say after that, but that was amazing. Something that someone did not teach me that I feel like I had to learn on my own to get where I am is to be organized and to be detail-oriented on even the smallest details, so you can just stay on track and not get lost in all of the chaos that goes on every single day. So that's more tactical. Just wanted to share that with you. That is nothing compared to Lamont's story. But yeah, I love that.
And for me, mine is almost cheesy, but it's good advice, I think, for anyone, anywhere. Is show up early. Because I think that sends a message to anyone you're going to work for.
Yeah, that's great.
Do we have any questions?
Hello. LaMont and Gigi, I think you both went to CSUN, right?
Yeah.
I go to CSUN, so I was wondering how your college majors, all three of you, how your college majors influence how you operate now in your jobs.
Well, my major was English, and I can't add, and I can't multiply or do my taxes. But if you want a good letter, I can write you one. It does help. Certainly, any major you do. If I tell people, if you want to become a salesman, you don't really need any experience. All you need to do is be able to talk somebody into doing something they may not want to do. And that's really all it is. It's the mechanics come later. It's really just having that ability to talk to people and give them something they want, something they don't know they want. And that's really it. So I think almost any major you have can get you into a film and marketing job. It's just that wanting that to learn. Mm-hmm. Because most of what you're going to learn in this business, you're going to learn on the job, because there's so many variables, especially in marketing. I'm just learning marketing after 35 years in sales, and it's a lot sexier than sales, I'll say that. It's a whole different lexicon.
CSUN, wow, you took me back. I was there in '95 when the earthquake took place. So it was very chaotic, kind of, I'm not going to compare it to the pandemic, but it was very trying times. But I was a communications major. One of my favorite classes was nonverbal communication. I don't know, it was intercultural communication. Those classes were fabulous because it taught me to pay attention to things that are not said. And I think that's helped me out so far in life.
So I went to the University of Toledo in Ohio, and I am a communication major, but my focus was broadcasting. So as soon as I left college, I was an entertainment reporter for Fox News in Toledo, Ohio. I was the first Latina face of Fox. So it was more, I wanted to be on TV and I wanted to host, and I thought that's what I was going to do forever. I was like, move over, Roxy from 106 in Park. I'm coming for your job, girl. But I'm here, and my path did not go that way as I thought, and I'm really happy with that, actually, because it is hard to stay in news and in front of the camera. But something that I learned in school, which I think is super helpful, is just your communication classes and learning how to present and speak to larger groups of people. I feel like maybe that's something I've been always a little bit natural at, but learning the tactics of like not saying and like and literally and just repeating words, I think that was something that really helped me with my career moving forward. And I will say, if you do have classes where you can learn how to make a PowerPoint deck, pay attention to those classes, because I did not pay attention to any of those classes in college. And then I got on the team I am now, and I had to create so many PowerPoint decks to the point where I would cry because I could not get a slide right. So that's my advice.
She's right.
And Excel.
Yes.
I love that. So first and foremost, I'm going to say, Jocelyn, back in the day, 106 in Park was my life.
Yes.
That show got me into a lot of trouble, skipping classes, but that's another story. So one of the things I've seen in our industry is the ability you have to really cultivate the ability to influence without authority. And for those of us coming in or coming up in the business and stepping into leadership positions, what tips do you have for people trying to really grow that skill set of how to influence without authority?
He's from Sony, by the way.
I am indeed.
Yes.
Well, coming in this, that I realize is the industry. It's changing a little bit more, very top-down management. So I definitely can relate with that. And but I find doing things like what you're doing today, be a part of charitable organizations like Will Rogers Variety. Why? I believe when you get involved, you're getting involved with people who are in authority. They're leading. And as they get to know you and your thoughts and your views, I think it softens those things when you're, when you're out there. So when you have a suggestion, they're going to be more inclined to listen. But you have to get in their world in order to be effective.
And we have one more question.
I'm so sorry. So I just wanted to ask you guys, first of all, I just want to say I love everything you guys were saying, all the films you guys were discussing. I grew up looking at them and watching them. I'm 25, so I'm a millennial. Know about 106 in Park, and that's amazing that you worked with them. But I do want to ask you guys, as far as like just those that are trying to start their career out in the entertainment business, what advice or tips do you guys have for us?
I think LaMont nailed it with showing up at these things is the best way to network. If you have the best opportunity to maybe meet your next boss. I know colleagues who have met their next boss at events like this. So that's an easy way.
Yes.
I was just going to speak from my position, volunteering. By volunteering, it shows your work ethic, it shows what you stand for. It says so much more about who you are as a person. And all I did was volunteer and show up to these Film Row events, and now I'm moderating the panel. And I believe that's it. So I'm going to welcome Shelly, our Film Road lead, to give the final remarks.
Another round of applause for these folks here. Thank you all for sharing your stories. I was inspired by them. I'm sure you were too. Thank you. Fun fact, that pen, the handwriting story, it really does go a long way. It's the reason I'm here today. When I interviewed for my first job, I wrote a note with a gold pen. I sent it to my boss, who was the biggest manly man. And he said, "You really stood out. I was actually going to go with another person, and you sent that note." And I swear, that's the only reason I'm in this industry today. So. My name is Jeff Wilk. I am the president of Film Row. I'm also the senior vice president of operations for Warner Brothers Pictures. I'm honored to be a part of this today. I'm honored to work with such a great organization that's trying to do so many great things and really help that next generation. Before I pass over to Shelley to talk a little bit more about LEAD, I just wanted to give you a quick overview of what it is Film Row does. As Carl alluded to in the beginning, our focus really is to help that next generation of leaders, both professionally and personally. And we really do that in three different ways, what we call our three fundamental pillars. The first is education. And it's creating events like this. It's making sure that the representation we have on screen and behind the screen reflects the audience. So doing things like this, and thank you. We also have a fabulous mentorship program pairing, junior executives with more senior executives to help share that experience. That goes a long way. We've had bonds that have continued for a couple of years. We've had people move companies, hiring. So that's one of our main focuses there. We're going on our third round of mentorship. Our second pillar is philanthropy. As Richard said, we got to know each other just from some of the things that he volunteered at. I'd say get out there. We partner with the LA Food Bank a couple times where a bunch of our volunteers reached out, connected, went down there. We had a contest. We packed 1,500 boxes one day, 1,300 boxes a couple months later, and that really went to some of the children that depended on that. And if they didn't have those boxes of food, they wouldn't have been able to eat, so it really went a long way. It was a fun team-building exercise. We got to know people that we really hadn't spent time with before, but as Rich says, get involved. And our third is networking. Get out there. Come to events like this. I know it's tough. It's a work day. You're tired. You're coming home from school. Push yourself, because little things like this go a long way. You never know who you're going to meet. I encourage you all to come down afterwards, mingle, look at the name tag, put yourself out there, be vulnerable, okay? That's the best advice I can give. You never know who you're going to meet. Like LaMont says, be nice to everybody, treat everybody how you wanted to be treated. It's amazing. It's 2023, and we still have to remind ourselves about lessons our parents taught us when we were 2. Isn't that sad? Anyway, we're going to put up a slide in a little bit that shows different ways to get in touch with us. Follow us on Instagram, go to our webpage, Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever the next thing Gen Z is doing, I don't know. But please get involved and reach out to us, connect with us. Let us know what programs are important to you. Let us know what it is you want to see and hear from us. We're here to help you. There's nothing behind it other than we sincerely want to help you develop and grow both personally and professionally. So thank you. And now Shelly Kratzer, our chair of LEAD, who helped organize this magnificent event.
Hi. Thank you all for being here on tonight. Back into 2020, right? Yeah, 2020, when LEAD started, Melanie Valera, she gave me a call in. She's a part of the Film Roll Board, and she's like, we're thinking about putting a diversity and inclusion group together, and I want you to be a part of it. And then that just spoke, so much to me. But it was because of networking events that I had met Mel, and she saw me around, and she wanted me to be chair along with Carl. We were the first two to kind of start this LEAD committee. And here we are 3 years later. We started, like Carl mentioned, we started doing these speaker series via Zoom. And this is our first in-person event. So thank you guys so much for being here at our very first one. It's a great turnout, and we couldn't have done it without each and every one of you. We couldn't have done it without AMC Century City. Tony is there goes Tony Graham, who organized this location for us. Thank you to Will Rogers, Christina, I think she's up there somewhere. So thank you for all your help and everything that you do for us. Thank you to Paramount for the gift baskets and all the promo items that we will be giving out shortly. Thank you to Warner Brothers. Thank you to Sony for all your support. Yes, thank you. Thank you for all your support. Our volunteers for helping us out. We just really appreciate you guys being here. And just real quickly, like Carl kind of already mentioned what LEAD is, and it's leadership, education, advancement, and diversity, and we really speak to that. We really want to make sure that we are all being represented, and when we say diversity, we mean everybody. Everybody has a voice, and we want to hear from everybody. So like Jeff said, come up to us, talk to us afterwards, introduce yourself. We're all about networking, meeting people, and taking you to that next level if we're able to do this. This is a great industry to be a part of. I love it. I started, I think, in the late 90s. I was in high school, and I wanted to I needed money for college. I didn't need money for college for my dorm room, though. And so I was like, well, let me go, and I started at Technicolor. And that's kind of how my career started. I actually went to school, Cal State Long Beach, go Beach, to be a teacher. And here I am, 20 plus years later, not a teacher, and I've been in this entertainment industry, and I love every minute of it. And I love all the people that I work with and I have met along the way. So again, thank you. We're gonna do a little raffle. Right now, we are going to raffle off. We will be raffling off 2 prizes. The first one, we have a 1-frame bright burn autograph one sheet, courtesy of Sony. So pull out your tickets. Just for a second. I don't know how that.
It's signed by James Gunn and Elizabeth Banks, so hopefully that gives it a little more cred.
Okay. So the winning ticket is 975044. 975044. Anyone? No? Going once? 975044. Oh, you got it? Oh. Anyone going once? Going twice? All right, I'm going to pull another ticket. All right, 975003. Oh, yay! Yes, winner. And then our next one we will be raffling off is a Paramount gift basket. It's a silent sheet. All right. So for the gift basket, 975042. 5042. Anyone? 5042. Anyone? Paramount gift basket. What did I do with that though? No? Going once? 5042. Going twice?
First one to raise their hand.
All right, let's try it again. All right. 5049. Yay, we got a winner? Woo woo. Great. All right, great. And just a reminder, we are having a contest, so, click on the QR code, like our Instagram page, post a video or a picture, and I forgot what the details were, but go on our website page, do what it says. You have until April 15th to sign up or to do that, and then we will be picking our winner. And just real quickly before I end, I want to bring all of the lead committee down here because I could not do it without each and every one of them. And we have someone who flew in, who's on our committee, who flew in all the way from New York just to be here for this first event. So our whole committee. So Mariana, Mel, Frank, where's Frank? Frank is somewhere. He's in the booth. Tony, Carl, myself, Jeff, Rich. I could not have done it without them. We have some giveaways, so please walk over to the table, grab whatever you want, and now it's time to mingle and to network. Hopefully you all have your name badges. Come up. Speak to our panelists. You can speak to the committee, Film Roll board members, but thank you again.